pretty stable. Like, we text each other and call each other on like an average basis.
Whispers are circling like storm clouds. Did Jon Gosselin's daughter really break her years-long silence at 21 and drop a bombshell no one expected? The clips are raw, the emotions unmistakable, and if what she says is true, it's a devastating turn in a family story already tangled in heartbreak. Stay tuned to uncover the secrets that were once buried beneath one of reality TV's most infamous families. A childhood in the spotlight. The Gosselin house was never truly quiet, even late at night when most families were asleep. Cameras were always nearby, crew members quietly moving around, and lights softly glowing. This constant presence shaped Mady Gosselin's childhood, a life where everyday family moments became public for millions to watch. She never chose this fame. It came into her life before she could understand it, turning her childhood into a show filled with rehearsed smiles and staged scenes. Growing up on Jon and Kate +8, Mady was one of 8 siblings featured on the hit reality series. The show captured her family's every move and framed it all as wholesome chaos. But for Mady, being filmed wasn't just a job, it was her life. There was no off the record. Her entire childhood was a shared experience with millions of strangers. She was only 6 when it began, but even then, Mady had a fire in her, a sharp mind, a strong will, and a voice that demanded to be heard. Some viewers found her outspoken. Others saw her as bratty. But they didn't know her. They knew the edited version, the sound bites, the meltdowns, the TV child version of a little girl growing up in a world where home and set were the same. In one of her more revealing moments, Mady told People magazine, "People think we're supposed to be messed up." That single sentence held the weight of every misjudgment she had endured. The public saw her as a product of reality TV, a girl who had no choice in being exposed, but who had to deal with the consequences. "We're actually doing really well," she said. She and her twin sister, Kara, had taken control of their own story. The years following their parents' high-profile divorce were filled with complexity. Behind the scenes, the Gosselin house was not as perfect as it appeared on screen. Mady and Kara found themselves growing up fast, helping to care for their younger siblings while managing their own emotional needs. They had to balance school life, public persona, and private grief without the kind of support most teens take for granted. In 2016, Mady gave a rare interview, showing a firmer stance on her family's fractured relationships, particularly with her father, Jon. "He should maybe spend some time thinking about why we don't want to see him," she said, clearly tired of the blame being pushed onto her and her siblings. Jon Gosselin had been vocal in the press, insisting his children were being alienated from him. But Mady made it clear the choice not to reconnect wasn't Kate's. It was theirs. The damage had been done, and unlike on TV, there were no retakes to undo it. What happens when a childhood shaped by cameras collides with a cultural identity waiting to be rediscovered? Stay with us to know. Embracing Korean-American identity. There was always a quiet question beneath the surface of Mady Gosselin's public life. Who was she beyond the cameras, beyond the drama, beyond the fame? For years, that question was wrapped in silence. But recently, Mady began breaking through it, sharing a deeply personal journey, discovering and embracing her Korean-American heritage. This journey wasn't sparked by a single moment, but a growing awareness that something inside her needed to be acknowledged. Growing up half Korean and half white in a predominantly white community, Mady often felt invisible. The world she saw on TV rarely reflected her experience, leaving her to wonder if she belonged anywhere. She once shared in an Instagram post that as a child, she struggled with her reflection, not because of how she looked, but what she represented. She longed for representation that was absent. Asian faces, voices, culture. That post resonated with many who had faced similar feelings of invisibility. But Maddie's story isn't just about reflection. It's about reclaiming culture. In interviews with outlets like BuzzFeed and the Asian American Journal, she spoke about the challenge of navigating two cultures. Being Korean American is not about fitting into a box, she told BuzzFeed. It's about carrying different worlds within you. For Maddie, it meant learning the language, cooking traditional dishes, and exploring Korean history and art. Her cultural exploration wasn't just academic, it was a lifeline. During a time of rising anti-Asian hate, Maddie found strength in her roots. "Knowing where I come from helps me stand taller against ignorance and hate," she tweeted. Social media, once a source of stress, became a platform for advocacy. She began sharing Korean culture from K-pop to cinema, redirecting focus from her childhood to her heritage. A pivotal moment came when she collaborated with an Asian American mental health organization to create content on identity and resilience. In a virtual panel covered by NBC News, she spoke about the challenges faced by mixed-race Asian youth. "I want young people to know they don't have to choose between parts of themselves," she said. "You can be both and all the things in between." Her message of inclusion resonated widely, pushing her influence into broader cultural spaces. While her public family history is marked by tension, her private connection to her father's Korean heritage has grown. In an interview with ET Online, she said learning more about Korean culture gave them a shared bond that transcended past difficulties. Through podcasts and interviews like NPR's Code Switch, she explored how identity is fluid, and embracing it is an ongoing process. As hate crimes surged, she joined other young voices to educate and speak out. Whether participating in rallies or sharing content, she became part of a larger movement for understanding. Through partnerships with Stop AAPI Hate and Asian Mental Health Collective, Maddie helped raise awareness and support for victims of discrimination. In a recent Refinery 29 interview, she said, "I'm still learning who I am, and that's okay. Identity isn't fixed. It grows and changes." For many, Maddie's story is a beacon showing how cultural heritage can be a source of strength, even when it feels complicated or hidden. But what happens when that same platform, once used for connection and cultural discovery, becomes a breeding ground for cruelty instead of community? Let us tell you. Addressing online harassment. The glowing screen had always been a double-edged sword for Jon Gosselin. From childhood, it offered a stage, a window through which millions could glimpse her family's life. But online harassment wasn't new to Maddie or her siblings. The relentless intensity and personal attacks escalated in ways that could no longer be ignored. One evening, feeling overwhelmed, Maddie decided to speak out. Turning to TikTok, a platform known for its immediacy and honesty, she addressed the harassment head-on, not with anger, but with clarity and a plea for respect. In her viral video, Maddie spoke directly to critics and trolls. "We are more than what you see on a screen," she said. "Our lives are not a reality show you get to judge. We deserve privacy and respect." The video quickly amassed millions of views and sparked conversations across social media about the impact of online hate. Her courage wasn't just an act of self-preservation, it was a call to action. Outlets like Entertainment Tonight praised her for shining a light on an issue many celebrities face, but few openly address. The Gosselin siblings had endured years of unsolicited commentary, from cruel memes to invasive rumors. These attacks were real and deeply personal, affecting their mental health and relationships. In a candid interview with Perez Hilton, Mady shared, "It's not just words on a screen. It affects our daily lives, our sense of safety, and how we see ourselves." She also discussed the unique challenges of growing up in the spotlight. "We never got to set boundaries when we were kids," Mady said in a People interview. "Now, we have to fight to create those boundaries, and sometimes the public doesn't understand or respect that." The anonymity of the internet complicates the conversation. "We have to remember that there are real people behind every profile," she urged. Her message resonated deeply, especially with young fans who had experienced cyberbullying. Mental health advocates joined the conversation, sharing resources on coping with online abuse. Mady partnered with digital safety and mental health organizations, becoming an advocate for safer online spaces. In a feature by NBC News, she stressed that speaking out must be accompanied by broader changes in how social media platforms handle abuse. "It's about changing the culture online, not just silencing the voices of the victims." Mady's efforts also inspired her siblings. Together, they form a united front, encouraging others to seek support. And remember, they're not alone. What happens when the real hurt isn't online, but at home, between those who once called each other family? Come with us to know family dynamics and estrangement. The silence between Jon Gosselin and his daughters has spoken volumes over the years, a heavy, unspoken tension that has quietly shaped the Gosselin family story. Estrangement is often described as a slow unraveling, but in this family, it felt more like a fracture, sudden yet enduring, slicing through the very heart of what once was a united household. The public watched, curious and sometimes judgmental, as the distance grew. But the truth behind that silence is complex and deeply human. Jon's relationship with his twin daughters, Mady and Kara, has been one of the most visible examples of this divide. The twins, once inseparable in childhood, have gradually stepped back from their father's life, revealing cracks that seem to widen rather than heal. Unlike the reality TV spotlight that brought them together for years, their private interactions are now marked by absence and unresolved tension. In interviews, Jon has expressed his regret and desire to reconnect. In a rare sit-down with People.com, he admitted, "I miss my girls. I want to have that bond again, but it's not easy when things have gotten so complicated." The word complicated echoes throughout the family's narrative, a soft but heavy acknowledgement that the path back is fraught with emotional and practical barriers. The twins themselves have been candid, often through social media and occasional interviews, though they guard their privacy. Mady and Kara's reluctance to engage with their father publicly isn't a denial of love, but a protective measure. "The silence isn't because we don't care," Kara told the Ashley's Reality Roundup. "It's because sometimes the pain is too deep to just forget or ignore. We need time, space, and understanding." Behind the headlines, the estrangement is rooted in complex personal dynamics, past disagreements, differing perspectives, and the lasting impact of years in the public eye. Jon's role as both father and public figure adds pressure, where every attempt at reconciliation is scrutinized. In another interview with People.com, Jon reflected on how fame affected his family. "The cameras never stopped rolling, even after the show ended. It made real conversations hard because everything felt like it was under a microscope," he said. This pressure, combined with unresolved conflicts, created a cycle where hurt feelings deepened. Despite the distance, Jon's hope remains a constant thread. "I'm open to whatever it takes," he told People.com. "It might take time, but I believe we can find a way back." His words reveal a vulnerability that contrasts with the sometimes harsh media portrayal of him. While outlets like People.com and the Ashley's Reality Roundup have brought attention to the estrangement, they have also fueled public curiosity. The family has expressed frustration over speculation and judgment, reminding fans that behind every headline are real emotions and consequences. In conversations with Entertainment Tonight, Jon admitted the toll that public scrutiny takes. It's hard to heal when everyone is watching and waiting for drama. Sometimes, the best thing is privacy and respect, he said. Experts emphasize that estrangement is rarely clear-cut. Dr. Lisa Firestone, a psychologist specializing in family relationships, explains it often arises from unmet emotional needs. It's a complex dance of hurt and protection, she told NBC News. Rebuilding requires acknowledging pain while creating safe spaces for dialogue. In the Gosselin family's case, the public nature of their lives adds both urgency and complication. The twins' decision to keep their distance can be seen as an act of self-care. Meanwhile, Jon's openness to reconciliation suggests a willingness to address past issues, though how that unfolds remains uncertain. In the meantime, the silence between Jon and his daughters holds a fragile tension, one that might one day give way to conversation, understanding, and perhaps reconciliation. If silence defined Jon's estrangement, what happens when that silence is broken not by reconciliation, but by a daughter's fierce defense in the face of new turmoil? Defending her mother amidst allegations. The storm around the Gosselin family took on a painful new dimension when allegations surfaced against Colin Gosselin. What might have been a private crisis became a public battleground. At the center stood Maddie Gosselin, who stepped forward to defend her mother, Kate. Her statement wasn't just public. It was a declaration of loyalty and protection. People don't understand what goes on behind closed doors, Maddie told Fox News. It wasn't just normal sibling fighting. There were moments of hateful and even violent behavior. My mother did everything she could to keep us safe. Her words conveyed sorrow and resolve. Maddie's goal was not just to silence rumors, but to humanize her mother, long a controversial figure. Mom wasn't perfect, but she was always fighting for us, she said. The media played a key role in shaping perception, and Maddie knew the stakes. This isn't about painting anyone as a villain, she explained. It's about recognizing that sometimes families go through things no one else can see. Maddie's stand drew mixed reactions, yet her openness shifted the conversation from gossip to something deeper: mental health, family loyalty, trauma. In a panel discussion, Maddie reflected on the toll. It's exhausting to explain yourself and your loved ones when you're already in pain, she said. Her vulnerability resonated with many, revealing the emotional cost of public life. Experts in family psychology note how families struggle to balance protection and safety. Dr. Rachel Simmons told People.com, "Families are often caught between protecting the individual and the whole." Maddie's response showed growing maturity. No longer a reality TV figure, she emerged as a voice of understanding. "We're all flawed," she said. "What matters is how we support each other through those moments." In the months following the allegations, Maddie continued advocating for healing and mental health. Her defense of her mother became a message of compassion, resilience, and growth. Could Maddie's fierce defense of her mother be the first step toward revealing her own long-hidden story? Maddie's candid reflections at 21. There comes a moment often quiet, sometimes loud, when someone who has been watching their entire life decides to speak not because they have to, but because they finally want to. For Maddie Gosselin, that moment arrived at 21. After years of silence and curated family images broadcast to millions, she stepped into her own voice. And what she said wasn't what people expected. It was raw, deliberate, and painfully honest. In a post that rippled across social media, Mady began with an admission so personal it made headlines. At 5, I picked a blonde-haired, blue-eyed doll because I thought that's what I was supposed to look like, she wrote on Instagram. It was Korean American Day, and what she shared wasn't just a reflection, it was a reckoning. Her younger self had been starved of representation, surrounded by a world that made her feel like she didn't belong. This was one of the 8 from Jon and Kate Plus 8, a show that turned a household into a spectacle. But behind the cameras was a child quietly questioning where she fit in. There wasn't a doll that looked like me. But more importantly, I chose the doll I thought I should look like, not the one that looked like me. Mady was describing the quiet violence of identity erasure, something many multiracial children experience, but few speak about. She didn't stop at memory. Mady used her platform to call out the subtle and overt ways Asian Americans, especially women, are dismissed or fetishized. I'm proud to be part of a community that has suffered through decades of ridicule and hate, but persevered gracefully, she said. Her words weren't just personal. They were political, bold, and long overdue. This awakening came with weight. On TikTok, she demanded boundaries. It's not your business, she said. The things people say about my family, my parents, childhood trauma, it's not helping. It's harmful. This wasn't anger. It was clarity. They were kids when this started. Now, they are adults, entitled to privacy and healing. The media finally caught on. AOL called it Mady breaking her silence. But it wasn't just silence. Her words felt like years of filtered emotion, now unchained. Outlets that once treated her family like a soap opera shifted tone. CNN quoted her plea to see us as functioning members of society with jobs, degrees, and lives. In confronting the internet's obsession with their past, Mady didn't just defend herself, she reframed the narrative. She wasn't the silent twin anymore. She wasn't just Jon and Kate's daughter. She was Mady proud, exhausted, and brave enough to pull back the curtain. Her reflections didn't come with scandal. Instead, they offered something harder: vulnerability. It's easier to sell chaos than truth. Mady chose the truth. That's what made it feel bad to some: the honesty, the discomfort. Not because it was wrong, but because it reminded people they'd consumed a childhood never meant for public use. If Jon Gosselin's daughter's truth left you stunned, hit like, share your thoughts in the comments, and tap the cards for more untold family drama.